Alright, what's up everyone? This is the castle. Explaining some stuff. Alright, so the way everything's going right now, um yeah, so I got the name tags. Hopefully the name tags are actually working correctly this time. And hopefully you know, I'll be able to get down to the prefab system. Now the prefab system is definitely next on the list. I'm actually thinking, fuck it, I'm just gonna try for it tonight. And I have some ideas on how I'm going to be able to implement it and everything like that. Once this is done, I mean, literally, this might be the weekend where I actually manage to get hierarchical instancing inside of this editor. It's pretty straightforward how I want to handle it, and it's not going to really involve a whole lot. But what is important to you is to understand that it means that you can save miniature levels inside of the level, which is pretty over the top. I mean, that's a lot of power if you end up saving a ton of work and everything like that. So what's coming up next, though, honestly, after this, is mostly just going to be well, it's mostly just going to come down to art. I'm going to be making wall textures and light fixtures and meshes, and I'm going to be building a lot of meshes, and I'm going to be growing a lot as an artist because I'm going to be, trying my hardest to get a new style in place where I'm going to just go to town on all of these different things. You see the name tag right there. So you'll see walls and crates and everything that I could possibly think of, and I'm going to be doing a lot of it with deep inspirations from the textures that already exist for other games. And you'll see a lot of. I want this place to look very much like a Slipgate complex or some kind of a thing from Quake One or something like that. I want it to kind of ooze Quake One ish, but I don't really know for sure how well that'll pan out or whatever. But that's the idea for this. Um, so with that said, I'm really just going to be getting I'm just going to be super busy. The hierarchical instancing though is going to be necessary for more than just instancing. It's also going to make it possible to work on larger levels, which is something that's going to be necessary if I want to do the whole open world survival thing with Revulsion 2, right? So that means like we won't be able to really. I'll kind of break each section of a world down into essentially, I guess, cells, kind of like what like the Skyrim engine does, or the creation engine does, where you just have like different sections or squares, and we just each of those could be fairly large in its own right. Those can be just like individual sections, and we just like work on that and make that as interesting as possible. Um, Now it's possible that if I do go that route, I might use one large terrain or something along those lines because it would be a little bit easier. So what'll end up happening is that while working on each of these small individual levels, there'll be a big terrain sitting underneath it. And then what it'll look like is that the only area that has any detail, or actual meshes, will be the one area that we're currently working on. But you'll still be able to see the size and scope of the rest of the world or something like that. That might be kind of interesting. The only problem with that is that I don't really know for sure if I'm going to be able to make it so that the terrain can be manipulated within this editor. Maybe. The only thing is I'm not really sure how if that's something I want to really delve into, or maybe just avoid the whole landscape thing in the first place and just like try and just use lots of larger meshes and stuff like that, and create a more a different kind of a world. Create a world that's a little bit more instead of just slapping down a flat terrain. Create a world that has caves and crevices and different corridors and stuff like that, which might actually lend itself better to doing an environment for a first person shooter like this, like a Doom or a Quake style first person shooter, it might just actually feel better to do it that way anyway. So maybe that's the direction I'll just go with it because you know what I mean? Like I don't think the Quake or the Doom guy was ever meant to just be running on a terrain, you know, while trees are going by and shit. I don't think that's actually it doesn't make any sense to me. So what we'll end up with is probably going to be not using any of those that kind of a method with a giant terrain underneath it. But it will be necessary to at least break these bigger maps up into smaller chunks, so that even just for the sake of fucking like uh, even just for the sake of oh, let me see, like I guess just for lag, reducing lag, making things a little bit easier to run and everything like that. Because when you actually load the level for actual gameplay and everything like that, it loads it in a more efficient manner. So it's not going to be as bad or as laggy. I don't know. With that said, this is stuff that's just sort of off the top of my head. Right now, I just need to get this working in the first place, and that'll be a pretty big deal in and of itself. Hold on a minute. Is this light? Oh yeah, point one. Just make it. There you go. Full saturation for the color light. But yeah, there's going to be a lot of art coming along the line. There's going to end up being a lot of stuff. I just need to get this one thing, this one feature, and then I can probably, at that point, start looking at stuff like making sure that you have an undo and the ability to do like a marquee selection or something like that. Now, marquee selection might just actually be another volume that just like grabs every object that's inside of it. You just slap that volume down and then you press a button on it and it just like attaches every object inside of it to that object, and then you can move it around, and then you can delete that object and those objects will just sit there, where they were last placed or something like that. That's probably actually pretty straightforward, and I could probably just make that work, but it would end up being in the volume category. So like if there's a thing where you want to select a bunch of shit, you might have to go into the volumes and then select, selection volume maybe at the very top of the list or something like that. We already got the prefab and volume and the prefab point, but maybe something like selection shouldn't be buried in a list like that. Maybe this selection thing will pop up uh, the moment you because it doesn't need to be saved or anything like that. This isn't an object that I want actual players to save. Maybe the builder mesh could be a way to create one of these objects or something like that. Like you press a specific key or something, and that'll allow you to select, within a giant, space or something like that. That'll probably make a lot more sense. So, yeah. Let's see. All right. I think I'm pretty much good to go. There isn't really a whole lot to talk about this time because it's really just more about getting shit done. It's just really more about making it happen than talking about it. If I get this working though, it's going to be a really huge win. Um, this will be pretty big because yeah, it's just really good functionality. Oh, and it does actually kind of make it possible to do mini map files that can be used as tiles for random world gen, which then I would just actually need to add like some very specific entities for like entrances, north, south, east, west entrance for each of the tiles, stuff like that. You know what I mean? And then you could just place like random spawn point or something like that, where it just chooses like different spawns. Um, all right. So yeah, this editor could be used to make random world gen stuff. Although I don't really know if I want to do random world gen stuff for Revulsion 2. Just off of my observation of the reactions that I got for even trying to do random gen with Revulsion, maybe it was just because the random gen that I did isn't very good because I needed more variety and stuff like that. But I think that a lot of people immediately just sort of like, and just immediately kind of just, didn't want it. And, you know what I mean? It was just something that was not really as good, you know what I mean, as custom handcrafted level design, which is something that is much more rare and much more valued in this space. So I'm probably just not gonna mess with it. I'm just not gonna mess with random world gen stuff. So, but it can be used for that. So if the need arises, it's actually not that difficult, especially if I can just make each of the tiles a prefab and just save them out as prefabs. Then we can work on, me and like, 10 people can like all just work on different tiles and at the same time in one map. And then anytime you select the prefab, you'll see the option to like click save, and then it saves the file off, and it'll be a prefab underscore whatever the name of the file is, and that'll be yeah, that'll actually be really efficient, like super efficient, like insanely efficient for doing something like that. It would probably be too easy to make stuff. Like God, I wish um, you know, like when I was working on Warframe, if we had something like that, it would have just been out of control. Actually, getting every level designer together into one world where we can all kind of interact with each other and we're all part of the same like thing, it I think would increase overall productivity because we we end up seeing each other's work in real time, and we are actually helping each other, or we're answering questions, or we know what each other are doing. You know when somebody's working, you know when somebody's not working, you know when somebody is stuck, like anybody can just fly over to your section of the world and see what's up, and you can ask questions in the editor and like have it all answered. You don't have to go to fucking Slack or some bullshit like that. You know what I mean? Like that I mean that right there, I think that just that one thing would make such a huge fucking difference just in terms of just overall productivity when it comes to level design, because if you make it a social experience where everybody is able to see what's going on at all times, not even that, just the management of it, it's so straightforward. Now like the manager guy can fly in, and he can just be on a spectator cam and just kind of like look over and be like, oh yeah, yeah, that looks pretty cool, you know what I mean? Like it's too good. It's too good. All right, it's way better than the shit we've been doing for the last 15 fucking years. Actually, longer, 20. So yeah, even longer than 20 years. It's just this sort of design pipeline needs to be a standard, man. It really does. Okay, so anyway, with that said, I'm gonna go ahead. I'm gonna end this video. I'm gonna get to work. I'm gonna make this happen. I want to see. I want to see some prefabs going in, and I want to see another live stream where you can actually see me and my friends just chunking away at a new area in the map, and figuring out how to like get stuff together, and then be able to make it playable, make it something that I can actually release and be like, here's a cool new level that actually is fully arted out that you can play right now. That's in Revulsion 1, which is also content that can be easily tailored over to Revulsion 2 because it's already built in Revulsion 2 anyway. So yeah, like, all right, I'm gonna go ahead, end the video for real this time. Take it easy, guys, and stay tuned for more.